Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazal Ministries podcast.
Can you be a remedial hero? This is what we are going to find out on today's episode of Systematic Geekology. My name is Elizabeth Clyde, also known as Pang, and I am here with Christian Ashley, my Comic-Con brethren. We just saw each other, but it's always not enough. How are you today, Christian?
I feel the same way, Pang. It was so much fun hanging out, just trolling Will the whole weekend, and it's hard to be apart.
I mean, we had the best boys weekend ever, if I do say so myself. It was just us, the bros, hanging out.
Yeah.
So what have you been geeking on lately?
Recently, I've been already caught up with the manga, but Dan to Dan in the new season has been a ton of fun. It's so great to see all those things animated now. The animation has been done really extremely well. The relationship between the two main characters is perfect. I love that show so much.
That is on my list to watch. I can't remember. I think when I went to go watch it, it might not have been dubbed yet. And just because it's been such a busy season, I can only do dubbed anime at this time while cooking and maybe driving.
That makes perfect sense.
You don't have time to read subtitles, but I'm looking forward to that one. I'm not sure when this episode drops, but I've been having to binge The Bear because I just borrowed someone's Hulu subscription, and we're doing that for one of our Thanksgiving episodes. And so 3 seasons and 8 days I can do it. And so that's what I've been geeking out on. It's unnecessarily stressful. So depending on when you guys listen to this, if the Bear episode has already dropped, give that a listen because I have a lot to say sure. But let's get into the actual episode. If you did not get an idea what we're talking about, we are talking about remedial hero. And what does that mean? Well, we are talking about My Hero Academia. We are going just along and along, season by season, arc by arc. And we are here at the remedial course arc. And if you guys have not caught up to this yet, I mean, is the anime over yet? It's almost over. It was wrapping up.
It's almost over. I think we have one more season left.
One more. Oh, we still have a whole season? I thought this was the last season.
I think the 7th season ended where there's enough of the manga left to do a final season.
Okay, I was like, don't spoil us. But so I always wait for the season to finish airing so I can binge it. So I don't do the whole week by week episodes. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm not caught up with the anime, but definitely caught up with the manga.
Got it. So we are talking about the remedial course. If you have not seen the anime or heard our past podcasts, we talked about the hero licensing exam, and we know that 2 of our favorite heroes did not pass. So what happens when you do not pass an exam? Or if you flunk a grade, you have to go to remedial school. So we are talking about Todoroki and Bakugo, how they had to take their remedial license exam. And it kind of to me, it was a little bit of filler, but not really because it was just kind of fun. And we know that they failed their exams because pretty much their attitude. So what better way to showcase if they have what they have than to stick them with, was it preschoolers they had to pretty much entertain and babysit?
Pretty much. Yeah. This is also covering the school festival arc as well. So we'll get to that in a second. But for right now, everyone who was in the internship, the Shie Hasakai arc, Deku, Ochaku, and more are coming back to the school, and everyone wants to talk to him because it's huge news. They just stopped a major criminal operation. But Ida's like, hey, like, back off and let these guys rest a little bit. Especially, they're still reeling from the death of Sir Night-Eye. And at this point, we see Bakugo and Todoroki just go to bed because they have to take their license exam tomorrow in the remedial fashion because they failed last time, like we talked about. We didn't see that All Might is going with them to join them in this training session where they're not alone. There are two other people who join them. We have Cammy and Inasa, the guy, the wind guy who failed alongside them because of his grudge against Endeavor, and Cammy, who was taken by Toga and pretended to be her for the exam. So obviously, since she wasn't there, she didn't pass. So she's joining them for it. And they didn't find out their mission is to wrangle and wrestle with these preschoolers who, as we learn in the series, what do they call it? The quirk factor or something like that, where as time goes on, the powers start evolving to be stronger and better than the generation that came beforehand. So, goodness gracious, what is the term that they use? I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's to the point where it's almost impossible to make sure these children utilize their quirks effectively because they're stronger than the generation came before them. Their poor teacher is just like in shambles trying to deal with them day by day. And, with the law being what it is, you're not allowed to use your quirk outside of, very specific circumstances like being a superhero or utilizing it for certain jobs and stuff like that. So these kids have to learn that question because that's the governmental system they're under, but there is not as big a freedom to utilize this. So their job is to look after them. And we have mixed results.
Yeah, and they just paint like the preschool teacher as so tired and so fed up because these kids are brats. And you can tell that because with the kiddos, the law applies, but it's kind of almost like I think almost like how Harry Potter was, like you get in trouble if you use your magic, but like kids kind of got like a free pass because they weren't actively aware of using it, you know what I mean? And so the kids know they are getting like these free passes, so they pretty much terrorize the adults. And they have no respect for authority because honestly, they think they know best. And as you were mentioning, they have strong quirks, so they are stronger than most adults. So you can't tell them anything. So it's just kind of fun to see them struggle because I have taught many of preschool classes before, whether it's in church. I worked at a daycare for a little bit. So I think that's why this arc brought me much joy. And especially with Bakugo, like Bakugo and kids, hilarious.
Yes. Because his big thing is like, well, they got to discipline him. We got to be tough on him. And some of them make him look like a fool. And of course, he can't stand for that. And Todoroki the whole time is like trying to find a more peaceable way to do this. And Cammy, I think, gets called like a pretty much a slut by the girls
pretty
for
much,
dressing the way she does. Which is awful.
These kids are too grown. And I think it was Bakugo who figured out the ringleader pretty quickly, though.
Yes.
Didn't help him at all, but he figured out who was in charge.
Yeah. So they kind of figure out, like, hey, maybe we should meet them where they're at. And so they talk with the kids and ask them, like, show their quirks and stuff like that. And the quirk singularity, that is the word.
You did it, Christian.
Yeah. As time goes on, the quirks get stronger and stronger with every passing generation. So they try and work things out, and eventually, by working together, they create like this ice slide, Shoto, Todoroki, and Inasa, to make them have fun and realize, hey, there's a responsible way to use these quirks. Go ahead.
Well, and then like just with the ice slide, but also they had like the illusion magic as well. So it looked like they were almost with the Northern Lights, very fantasy, lots of fun. And even the older or the ringleader of the kids couldn't resist having the fun because at the end of the day, they are kids.
Yeah. And in this whole time, I forgot to mention that Endeavor is also watching over it because obviously his son's involved and he wants to see him become a hero too, live up to his legacy. And he's been talking with All Might because All Might, now that he's lost his power, is no longer the number one hero. And by default, Endeavor has won the rivalry between them, and he can't handle that. and the two of them are talking about what does it mean to be the number one hero? How do you earn this position? What is a number one hero supposed to do? And by the end of this, All Might says, "Hey, like, talk to your kid." And Endeavor tells Todoroki after they all pass, "I'm proud of you," and which is huge for them because, as we'll find out in the next arc, well, I think the next arc after this, after the school festival, there's a lot of messed up things in the Todoroki household. We already knew some about.
Yeah, I think this is our first time seeing Endeavor look fatherly and not like just the hard coach of a father or the bulldozer of a father that we've seen. And so you actually see that, oh, he may actually care more than power and care about his son, which I think is a good like foreshadow to the Todoroki family. And I can't remember how this arc ended. So did it just end with like the fun slide? And because this was technically, I think, like only a few episodes and over the course, but how did it wrap up? Do you remember? I can't.
I mean, it wraps up with like the kids getting a greater appreciation for the kids, the older kids, and learning, okay, we need to be responsible with our quirks. You know, we need to listen to authority, and that can be done in a cool fashion. So, you know, they're growing up. Don't be worrying about stuff like this. And
at
they
this
all
point,
pass.
well, I was going to say, technically, we don't know if they passed or not yet. They just,
oh yes,
yeah,
that's right.
But spoiler, but I mean, really, you're not going to have the number one student. Like, I think Bakugo was number one. We talked about this before, which shocked everyone at the sports festival. Like, so you're not going to have the number one student, like, at least in physical skill, technically. And then Todoroki, who is the prodigy son of the number one hero. Of course they're going to pass, but they don't actually tell us this. And then we go on to straight into the school festival arc, right?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, tell me.
We have a couple of small chapters where
because you read the manga.
Yeah. Aoyama is talking, leaves a very cryptic message to Deku that says, "I know," written in cheese.
Oh, I forgot about this. This was in the anime.
Yeah. Written in cheese saying, "I know." And like the whole time Deku's like, does this mean he knows about One for All? Does he know about my relationship with the All Might? And it turns out, no. Aoyama, like Deku, can't control his quirk well. And there are implications for that way later on.
Which is another foreshadow.
Yeah. Is that he's had to wear that belt that controls his power because his body hasn't adapted as well as other people to utilize his own quirk. So he thinks he's like Deku as well. So they kind of actually start up a friendship, which is very fun.
Mm-hmm. It is a lot of fun. It was so creepy.
Yeah.
Like, why cheese? What a waste of cheese.
It's the Frenchiness of him.
The Frenchiness. I do love him. I love him as a character. And I love that we get to know more about his backstories later on. So guys, maybe they just enjoy listening to our voice and they don't want to watch My Hero for themselves, but you definitely have to watch like My Hero if you haven't, or if you haven't caught up. If you're kind of like me and you sleep on it for a little bit and then you binge to catch up, make sure you put that higher up on your binge list because Aoyama is fantastic and I love him. Not as much as Todoroki.
School festival arc.
And from there, because you can't have any kind of high school without the cliche school festival arc. If there's going to be any kind of high school in anime, you're going to have a beach scene with bikinis. You just are. And you're going to have a high school festival thing. And I was telling Christian before we started recording this, I actually hated this arc because I felt like personally it was a bunch of filler and I was just ready to see some action. Or if it was alluding to like maybe at the end of the festival and Midoriya and Ochaku got to dance at the fire, like burning thing, like maybe then I would have been all for this arc, but that didn't happen. So how dare you give me a school festival arc without any romance? I said what I said. But this school festival arc, they're pretty much at the beginning, they're like, do we have it? Do we not? Because we don't want to draw any more attention to the school. And so the teachers are kind of split and they decided to have the school festival arc. But absolutely, if one thing goes wrong, they were going to shut it down. So they heightened security, which I appreciated. And this is probably another reason why it kind of aggravated me because there was this one dumb person who threatened to ruin a good plan. So I'll let you talk about the dumb person.
Well, before then, we have a moment of figuring out what they want to do. And for those of us in America, we don't really have an equivalent to the school festival that they do in Japan. It's this idea. Yeah, it's a really cool idea. Then the classes all have like one thing they're going to do. So like they'll vote on like, are we going to do a haunted house? Or are we going to do like a little takoyaki stand or something like that? Because the adults come in, people from off the street will just show up to these school festivals and obviously make sure they can interact with children. But parents come in, the kids from other schools come into stuff like this just to like have fun. And with as long as the Japanese school year is, they include things like this for little breaks. And that's what this arc kind of is compared to what came before. This is our little breathing room to, okay, Deku almost died. Mirio lost his quirk. Eri was saved. Now let's just rest, relax for a little bit, and just enjoy school festival. So they choose to do kind of a rock music performance, since Jiro has her abilities there. Mina is really good at dancing, and
they should have done Romeo and Juliet, so they could have had.
Well, Class 1B does a combination of like the Lord of the Rings, Romeo and Juliet, and Star Wars, and a bunch of other things to make this gigantic theatrical production that makes no sense at all, but it's just funny. So they decide they're going to do this rock kind of theme with people dancing. Deku is forbidden from dancing because he sucks. And at this point in time, he's kind of like just going to be their gopher for these ideas. And meanwhile, this whole time, there is a gentleman known as Gentle Criminal. He has started up his own YouTube page where he uploads all of his crimes as no one really follows him. He's got a very small fan base, but most of the people who follow him are a bunch of trolls that don't like him. And he is joined by his partner in crime, La Brava, who looks like a child, but is actually old in classic anime fashion. Older, I should say. Ugh, I can't stand that trope. And he's, uploading this stuff to like their version of YouTube, and they are going to infiltrate UA to make a name for themselves. Not knowing about what Peng said before, that if anything happens, they're shutting the whole thing down. So as they're doing this, they realize, okay, we're going to get more attention because the League of Villains is getting more attention, how they handle the Hasakai and everything. So he's about to invade. And on that day, after Bakugo says that they're going to murder everyone at the UA High with killer music, they have forgotten a supply of something like lights or something. So Deku's going to go out and pick it up. And before that, actually, All Might asks Deku how well he's doing with One for All. And he's gotten to the point where he's able to use 20% of it without directly hurting himself like he has in the past. So it used to be 5%, then I think 8%. Now he's up to 20, which is quite the leap, comparatively speaking. So he's trying to like copy All Might a little better to use his abilities better. There's also the huge thing of Eri is going to be joining the festival. And as a kid who has been used and abused her entire life, they want her to have a fun time. So you've got the mutual thing of they want Eri to have fun. They want everyone in the class to have fun because they deserve it. They've been through a lot. So as this is happening, Deku goes to pick up the thing that they need for the festival. And Mei gives him some new gloves, Hatsume, to help him like channel his like finger flicking power. And that's when Gentle Criminal tries to get on the premises. Deku recognizes who he is, and they fight. Gentle Criminal because he wants to like make a name for himself. Deku because he's trying to like stop anything from happening at the festival. Because if something goes wrong, once again, it's going to be canceled. So it's the two of their ideologies, and we learn that back in the day, Gentle wanted to be a hero, but unfortunately, he tried to save someone using his quirk where he can kind of like pressurize air and like make it soft or make it hard and dense. And he tried to save someone by cushioning them, and that guy ended up injured in a very Incredibles kind of fashion. He got like sued. The police came to him because he used his quirk out in public. You're not allowed to do that. So he has a huge issue with the system as a result.
If you'd like to support our show on Captivate, feel free to go to captivate.fm and find our show, subscribe. You'll get access to any future online D&D campaigns over there. You'll get an extra bonus question for 4 to 8 times a month. You'll get extra content like that through there. You also get a one-time donation you could make to help support the show right on Captivate. So you don't get anything for the one-time donation, but if you would like to just support the show once, do a quick donation, you can do that through captivate.fm. Our overhead includes editing software, marketing, equipment, recording software, and a whole lot of other stuff. And we really appreciate everybody who can help keep the lights on.
And after all this, Deku's actually able to reach him and like explain what's going on. La Brava tries to intervene to help him, but Deku apprehends Gentle Criminal, and he says she had nothing to do with it because there's a bit of a romance between the two of them. So there's something for you there. Pang.
Yeah, but I really don't like it when they have the grown women look like children.
I agree.
It bothers me. Like, it's different when they look young, but at least look like a teenager and be like 32. You know what I mean? Don't look 5 and like start flirting with old men and stuff, or like have love interests like that. It's just weird. Like, even I have a line.
Yeah.
It's a very faded line, but it's there.
It's like they are adults, but one doesn't look like one. So even though by the law everything's fine, it's like, okay, why did you design a character like this?
Yeah, well, like I just watched, like it was supposed to be like a romance, or I wouldn't even call it a romance, but like My Small Senpai or something like that. And I finished it, but I just could not get into it.
Oh yeah, that was the one with like she's real like tiny, and
and she's like an office worker, and like of course like her partner is the like really big guy, and so yeah, it was just weird.
Yeah,
but going back.
And also when asked by one of the people like guarding UA Hound Dog, what happened there, he doesn't give up Deku as the person who stopped him because of the fact. What was the reason? Like, he didn't want him involved either, because he actually gained a respect for Izuku for how much he fought against him. And like, there's a mutual bit there of like, hey, in another life, we might even be able to be friends. Had things gone a different way, I could have even been a mentor to you if I had actually, passed my hero classes. So he is brought off to jail, and everyone else comes back to actually go to the performance. They're able to get it off. Bakugo explodes so to announce their presence on stage, and Jiro leads it, and we see Eri being held up by Mirio and her smiling.
Mm-hmm. And that was sweet. I love Eri.
If I didn't cry, at that, I like, because it's everything she went through. That's and like she's experiencing happiness, and I know she's not real, but like I cried. It's like, I'm so happy for you right now. Like, as an older man, I can say I can do that for fictional characters now. I can do that, and it's okay. As a younger man, I'd be like, I've never cried and stuff like that. It's like, no, I can feel and experience these things, and it'd be okay.
It was really sweet, and I think one thing I did like about the school festival arc, honestly, if they just didn't have that like villain, dumb, gentle dude there, I would have been fine and just like watch them cliche do a school festival, and give me my freaking bonfire scene of them dancing and blushing. That would have been mwah. But it was so refreshing.
We're going to disagree.
It needed to happen, but it was so refreshing to be able to see them, besides Midoriya's like little fight scene, like act like high school students, because we've talked about this before, where they have had to do adult jobs and like have to take on the role of so much just stress and emotional dilemma, where like, do we do this? We're not supposed to, but we need to save our friends, but now we are being attacked, now our friend is kidnapped. It's just, we got to see them have fun and get excited and be high schoolers, so that was very sweet. I enjoyed that, just like a little break from all the craziness.
Yeah, because I think it was important that someone did try to stop this, because that is what is at stake, is their ability to have fun, to just relax after all they've had to suffer through. Because Gentle Criminal doesn't know that. He's just trying to infiltrate UA just to make a name for himself, just to get more people looking at his stuff, to become more popular. And through the fight, like, that is what Deku is fighting for. He's fighting for Eri. He's fighting for his teammates. He's fighting for the whole school. And if he slips up, if he fails, it's all over. And none of what happens next happens. So there's huge stakes there of an emotional nature that I really appreciate in this story.
Yeah, I just thought Gentle was dumb. But it's fine. I don't know why. He just really bothered me. Maybe because he was trying to get views, or I don't know. I was just annoyed. Like I've watched it through to this point like twice, and I remember when I got to this season the second time, or this arc the second time, I was just like, even this is where my husband, because I was watching it trying to get him into it, he actually lost interest in this arc as well. So he said
Well,
he'll
Taylor
catch up
says
one
it
day.
must be true.
Exactly. Like, so if it wasn't for this arc, I could be enjoying anime with my husband right now. But no, because Gentle ruined everything. But just
Aw.
going back to kind of like how you were saying with Gentle becoming like the adult that he was, and like so many things from our past shapes us. I'm really like assuming, or like I would even bet maybe like $1 on, because they got to have these happy high school moments, that's going to even though it doesn't seem very big right now, that is going to shape them into adults in the long run, because people that we see, a lot of the villains, they've had hard childhoods, and they've had they've had to grow up too fast, and so that made them a lot callous towards other people in the real world, and be able just to kind of be a little hardened to that. So I just love that, the softness of them being able to be kids and being able to look back and be like, those were the good days. Like I enjoyed these people and shaping their personalities. So have
Yeah.
you had any of that fond thing as a kiddo that, you want to share? You can share a trauma if you want while we're listening.
I mean, for the most part, in school, I had a good group of friends, loved hanging out with them, uh, on site, off site. And a lot of those friends were friends I were in my church. So we had that in common too. Um, so that just having times of moments where we were just hanging out, enjoying each other's company. And one of my friends, Holly, would tell me later on that those were some of the happiest moments of her life because her home life was just so rough and her parents weren't the best. And like being with my parents at our house and feeling safe while we were all gathered together made her feel safe. So I, without knowing it, because I was a dumb teenager who didn't understand emotions at the time, I was creating a safe environment for someone else just due to our friendship, just due to the wholesomeness of family life there. So I'm very happy about that, that I can look in hindsight and go, oh wow, I was doing good without even realizing it. And tons of other friends, when they were dealing with sin in their lives, like we would come together and say, hey, like I'm struggling with this. That just helped me grow as a Christian, helped me grow in my faith and reach out to other people and learn eventually along the way that, emotions are important, that I can be honest with people, that I can open up. And in high school itself, like classes were fun. Teachers were great for the most part. There's a couple I could, live without, but it was a very stable environment. And yeah, there's all the awkwardness of being a teenager and all that, but for the most part, I had no big traumatic things that happened, especially to me.
Well, that's jolly good on you.
So I'm here to hear the opposite end of things.
No. But jokes aside, but like that's super encouraging to hear, and that's kind of like similar to my husband's story, where he says his testimony is the Lord has kept him from like a lot of the trauma and the heartache, and which is fantastic because you have other pastor kids who are in a great safe environment upbringing, and they still need mentorships too. They don't need someone who went to the war and back to relate to. But with me, like if I had to have like a school festival moment, because I did not have a safe space growing up, it would be Girl Scout camp. So every single summer I would go to Girl Scout camp growing up, and so that was just like a week, sometimes 2 weeks, depending on which program I would go to, of like just being able to like have fun and be away from like the chaos and then come back. So I also have like those safe moments, but even school, I hated school. I was picked on because I had a speech impediment. And I remember I referenced this book one time, but they kind of talk about like, it's called Scary Close by Don Miller. When you experience shame for the first time, you automatically do everything you can to not feel that again, right? Because if you fall off a bike, it hurts. You don't want to fall off a bike again. So you're going to like learn how to ride better, maybe put on protective gear. So they say whenever you emotionally feel shame for the first time, then you create like a layer around your true self. and you try and protect yourself, and then but you can't, you're going to feel some kind of shame again, and then you create another layer, and then it's going to happen again where you mess up and you create another layer. And so people will literally go into adulthood and they don't even know who they are anymore. When's the last time they really felt like themselves, because they created all these shells around shame. And so didn't know you were going to get like a psychology lesson. But then in the book, they say they encourage you to try and find, and it took me months, and I even had to pray about this, that first moment you felt shame. And so mine was, so even school wasn't, like I said, a safe place, but I felt shame for the first time. It was in kindergarten on the playground. I was playing hide and go seek. I was counting, and I counted like to a high number, and I realized I was the only one playing because they all like left.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Isn't that like awful?
That's so cruel.
I know, freaking kindergarten. And so, but I kind of say that to say, because you need those safe space moments, because I grew up now and just with my toxic home environment. Well, not now, but like with my parents, I didn't have a safe space at home. But ever since then, I always have the mentality of, even at work, I joked with someone, I'm like, do you hate me? Because I don't know. I'm like, am I being a lot right now? Do you hate me? Am I doing anything wrong? Do you like me? And so it created this people pleasing mentality that followed into my adulthood. And so you never know what moments in childhood that it's going to shape you for the better or the worst. So I'm hoping the school festival will really like shape them, and they have like these positive feelings as they are going to be heroes and saving people. They have something they can feel the fondness of, and they want to protect other people's like school festivals and fondness in childhood. So so they make it deep, because that's what we do here. Apparently, I'm told.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important too. Just like the where we come from. I mean, there's very different ways anything can happen to someone. And it's not like to say high school was always perfect and, I was a land of milk and honey. But I didn't suffer through some of what you had to suffer through. And you didn't have to go through some of what I did. And we can learn from each other's experience and grow in that fashion. Yeah. I mean, I'm losing mine. It's real bad.
Sorry, I had to. It was funny.
I mean, I make jokes myself.
I've heard you make jokes, but that's why. But even doing that, I'm like, I'm sorry. Did I offend you? Are you mad at me? Do you hate me now?
No, you'd know. You would know. There'd be I'd leave this conversation right now, and I'd head all the way to Charleston I don't even know your address. I'll just go house to house until I found you.
Oh, that's perfect. You're gonna probably get shot. This is the deep South over here. Just saying. And there's a law that protects it. It's called protecting your castle.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm one of those people. I'd let you know if I'm upset with you, unless I have reason not to, which is very rare. Because I don't want people to be, where are we at? Where's the ambiguity there? I want you to know how I feel. I want you to know what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any other thoughts about whether it's the remedial course or the school festival arc as we're getting ready to wrap up?
Well, actually, real quick, we have the idea in both of these arcs of regulating quirks and what happens as a result of that. Because we have the kids that they're at the age where they're able to utilize them a little bit, but as they grow up, they're going to stop being able to do that as required by the law. And then we have Gentle Criminal in his backstory, trying to save someone, being an unlicensed hero, just a civilian, and getting punished for it. And let's say, what do you think about that? Like, especially in regards to our society, we have Good Samaritan laws. I don't know if they're universal across the United States, but I was in North Carolina. We definitely did. So like that protects people. Like if, I see you, in rubble or something, and I try to get you out of it and you bleed out as a result, I'm protected by the law to a certain extent because I was attempting to preserve life. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, it's just, I think we just live in a broken judicial society. And so as someone who's been screwed over by even the I can't speak judicial system, I'm like, whatever. Like if I see someone consciously in trouble, I'm going to do what I can do to help. And if there's repercussions, I think it's stupid, but the law is the law, So
And it's kind of one of the things that's actually explored in one of the spinoff series is My Hero Academia Vigilantes, is guys and gals who just didn't pass the hero course or weren't able to get inside to begin with, like still wanting to do good in the world. And like, is that something good? I mean, because as opposed to something like, Marvel and DC, minus like your Civil War stuff, they're just vigilantes. There's no like judicial system above them or anything like that. They go out and do good things. As opposed to My Hero, where there is an actual governmental thing of no one is allowed to utilize their quirk outside of these very specific scenarios, like maybe you use it at your job or you use it as a hero. If you use it in any other fashion, you're pretty much a villain in the eyes of society.
I wouldn't do it. I would just be like, well, what can I do to ensure that I pass and figure it out then? But, to each their own. It's not because I can't even because you can't hold someone to a standard that if they don't believe in and stuff like that. So because I believe in God and like God says we should submit to governing authorities and I, believe in like upholding the law, like I'm not going to do it. But if you don't believe in that and you don't get caught, go for it. You do you, boo-boo. I'm just going to do me. I'm going to stay in my lane right now at this moment.
Yeah, I'm conflicted on this one because I definitely understand from the child side of things why there needs to be a law regulating it. Because who's dumb and impetuous and stupid? Kids.
You. Oh, never
yes.
mind.
Well, that me too.
My bad.
No, you're good. Because they don't have the brain functioning to go, oh, well, I shouldn't just use this whenever I want to. I shouldn't set everything on fire with my quirk. I shouldn't, make everything be on ice with my quirk or what have you. Like, there needs to be a regulation in place for that because as they're developing, then they can realize, okay, here's a responsible way of doing that. But for me, I would have a huge grudge against any law that said you, by utilizing your quirk to try and save someone's life, are in the wrong. Because I believe in, with great power must also come great responsibility. The Spider-Man, every day, all day. So if I have the ability to do something and I don't do it, that's one of the greatest sins I can think of. So I'd probably do everything not to get caught, but I'd utilize that quirk to help people, assuming that I didn't pass any hero classes or something like that.
See, I would hope I wouldn't do it, but in my head, what I would want to see in a TV show, not in real life, guys, don't come at me. Let them die and be like, make them an immortal. Like, look, I could have helped them, but by your laws, I can't help them. So you need to change your laws.
Okay. So you're asking me to become a lobbyist.
Maybe. But like I say, I don't want that to happen in real life, but like, that's what I would want to see, like in like a fictional settings, like show them how broken they are. Yeah. Because you're not helping the system by breaking, like, by being a vigilante.
So it'd be more reform from within kind of scenario for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's perfectly valid. I just don't have the patience for that. And I know other people who can perfectly do that work within the system in that way and then change it from within. And I am A-okay with that. And actually, I do that myself in certain respects. But for something like this, where I shouldn't be thinking, oh, no, I'm breaking the law by saving this person's life. Mm-hmm. I should be thinking, how can I save this person's life? And that means much more to me, especially in light of, God's commands to watch over other people, to love my neighbor as myself. Well, what better way to do that than saving someone's life, even if it means it comes at great personal cost to me?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see in this fictional world we created.
Yeah, that's about all I had to say, other than, I'm bummed that Nejire's big moment here is that she wins a beauty pageant, which, she's the best looking woman in the cast of their age. So sure, she should have won, but like, couldn't she have done more? Is that really the highest pinnacle of her character?
No, because you have to do a school festival. So yeah, we need beauty. Yeah. We need to, I didn't get my bonfire, so at least they did that.
Why couldn't she have like helped Deku out or something, But female characters in My Hero, not always the best represented.
Yeah, it'd be like that. It's just a man's world. We're living in it. Well, awesome. We are going to wrap up. Before we do that, Christian, what would you recommend?
I can't remember if I've recommended this before, but Exhuma is a more recent kind of Korean exorcist film. I really loved that one. It was a nice horror film. Really fun.
I like it. I'm going to do, because I just watched the episode this morning, and it's a week by week, and I hate it, but it's fine. I'm not going to read the manga. The Do-Over Damsel. It's just, I don't know why. I've been really watching a lot of reincarnation, to the point of I've been probably having some like unhealthy thoughts a little bit. Just because I'm like, man, that would be so nice. I would love to like have a do-over. And I don't believe in reincarnation, but I'm like, man, this is nice. Thank goodness. Like if I did not have the mental strength, you might want
to meet Truck Coon.
Yeah, like it was like intrusive thoughts for the win, but don't worry, guys. Don't worry about me. It's not going to happen. I should just probably take a break from all these reincarnation animes and mangas, and manhwas that I've been reading. So I recommend that. It's kind of fun. The Do-Over Damsel, she gets, you learn this in the first 5 seconds, but she gets killed by her fiance and she gets reincarnated, and so now she gets to, kick butt. So good on her. So guys, thank you so much for listening. If you like this, make sure you give us a rating on Spotify, Apple, whatever podcast platform that you enjoy. Also, thank you for our Patreon, Justin Vaughn. Forgot to give you a shout out at the beginning, but we appreciate you for helping keep the lights on. Remember, guys, we are all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests, and we will see you next time. Blah!
We interrupt our regularly scheduled podcasting for an important message. My name is Tejas. I come to you today to inform you that for as little as $0.00 a week, you could in fact help us by joining our Discord channel. We'd love to talk to you guys there. There's a ton you can do on Discord. You can hang out with us, talk directly to all of the hosts, ask us questions, get more involved in our community, and join in future watch sessions. We like to hop in a voice channel and stream something and watch it that way. It's a really cool way to, get that sitting on the couch experience from home and, living a couple 100 miles away from each other. It is my favorite thing. I would really appreciate it if some of you joined so we could hang out some more. Thanks. And back to your regularly scheduled podcast programming. Hi, my name is TJ, and I'm here to tell you about the Anazao Ministry Podcast Network. We have a bunch of shows on AMP. You can follow the entire network in a single feed on Spotify at Anazao Ministry Podcasts or on the network page on Apple Podcasts. Some of the ones we're running right now are The Homily, which is Pastor Will's homily messages from Holy Trinity Lutheran Church in Chapel Hill. We have the Whole Church Podcast, which one of my favorites. It's where myself and Joshua, we interview leaders from different denominations and backgrounds to work for a full church unity, Big C. We have My Seminary Life by Brandon Knight, former host on Systematic Ecology. He discusses his experience at seminary and discusses seminary topics so anyone can access the knowledge, which is kind of cool. It's like the book, Everything You Learn at Business School and then Everything You Don't Learn at Business School. That's great. We have Let Nothing Move You by Christian Ashley. He goes through the Bible kind of like it's a Bible study to explain the biblical narrative through his perspective and what he's learned. Dummy for Theology, which is Joshua's show. He discusses various theological topics in an attempt to show every side of big discussions. That leaves you with more questions than answers, which everyone loves a lot. It's kind of a continuation of a series that we did on Whole Church, but it's really good. It's really fun. We have the Bible After Hours, where the foul-mouthed preacher goes through the Bible from a progressive view to challenge the status quo of the modern church. I love that one. If you're from a more conservative background, that one I find will probably be the most helpful for you. Definitely check that out. And we have the Clydes. Taylor and Elizabeth Clyde go through weekly discussions in a devotional, conversational method to help us get closer to one another and God. That's just a little review of what we do in AMP and all of our other shows. So check that out, get subscribed, and just start getting all that free content,